Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the City Council meeting on September 29th, 2025. Those interested in participating in today's meeting were eligible to register online using the delegation registration form at www.kitchener.ca/delegation or via email at delegation@kitchener.ca. Any written comments received prior to the commencement of this evening's meeting have been circulated to members of council and will form part of the public record of this meeting. The meeting live stream and archive videos are available at www.kitchener.ca/watchnow. Before we begin this evening's meeting, I'd like to acknowledge that today we're gathering on the traditional territory of the neutral Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee peoples. We recognize our responsibility to serve as stewards for the land and honor the original caretakers who came before us. Our community is enriched by the enduring knowledge and deep-rooted traditions of the diverse First Nations, Métis, and Inuit in Kitchener today. Before we begin today's council meeting, I want to also take a moment to pause and reflect on the importance of September 30th, Orange Shirt Day, and the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. This day serves as a solemn reminder of the enduring legacy of the residential school system and the harm it inflicted on Indigenous children, families, and communities across Canada. The impacts are not confined to the past. They continue to echo through current generations. This year, the heartbreaking discovery of 41 additional unmarked graves at the Chichilche Residential School is a stark reminder that the journey towards truth and healing is far from complete. The trauma inflicted by residential schools and the broader legacy of colonialism is something we all must confront. We must acknowledge the deep cultural harm imposed on First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We need to understand and show empathy, and empathy must guide us as we learn Canada's true history. On this day, we urge every resident of Kitchener to honor the survivors and the children who never returned home. Tomorrow is a day for solemn remembrance and a reaffirmation of our collective commitment to listening, understanding, and supporting Indigenous communities. The members of Kitchener Council and our city staff are committed to continuing to learn and understand the history and current reality of Indigenous peoples. We're committed to tackling systemic anti-Indigenous racism and ensuring these vital conversations and actions remain central in our governance and community life. Each of us has a role to play in this crucial work, such as attending Indigenous-led events, wearing an orange shirt, or engaging in personal reflection and education. By listening to the stories and experiences of Indigenous peoples, we foster a community grounded in respect and solidarity. To help center and create space for deeper reflection on the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation this year, the city collaborated with Jack Spicer Fowler, a local Indigenous youth artist, to create a powerful visual representation of healing and connection. You can see that visual representation on the screen above me. The artwork, titled Journey Home, will be featured in publications and on digital platforms in 2025 and is a powerful reminder of the strength, resilience, and realities that continue to shape our community. Let us come together in unity to recognize the resilience and invaluable contributions of Indigenous peoples to both Kitchener and our broader world. Today, tomorrow, and every day, we pledge to walk the path of truth and reconciliation with sincerity and hope, aspiring to build a future that embraces equity and justice for all. And now I would invite those, as they're able, to stand for the singing of our national anthem.
In all of us.
Thank you, everyone. So it's been moved by Councillor Debbie Chapman that the minutes of the regular meetings held August 25th, 2025 and special meetings held August 25th, 2025 as mailed to the mayor and councillors be accepted. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? There being none, you'll note the communication to file, both with respect to our flag request for the Association des Francophones de Kitchener-Waterloo, as well as the illumination request for developmental coordination disorder. For the first one on September 25th to 29th, and the second one on October the 6th. We now will just take a moment to acknowledge some of our staff here at the City of Kitchener. This evening we have some special anniversaries to recognize. We'll call this the 20th anniversary hat trick, as we recognize 3 individuals who are all celebrating 20 years of service at the City of Kitchener. 2005 can be said to have been a stellar year for recruitment at City Hall, particularly in the fall, as these 3 folks have been an incredible presence serving our city and its residents, both the city as a whole, as well as in our Office of Mayor and Council. The first one to celebrate 20 years in OMC was our very own Elizabeth Leacock. We honor and celebrate Elizabeth for 20 remarkable years of service in the Office of Mayor and Council. Elizabeth, your unwavering commitment, professionalism, and compassion have been a cornerstone of our team and a true gift to our community. Over the past 2 decades, you've been a steady and trusted presence, supporting constituents with care, navigating complex issues with grace, and always going the extra mile to support Council. Your deep knowledge, thoughtful approach, and tireless dedication have made a lasting impact on everyone fortunate enough to work alongside you. On behalf of City Council, thank you for your years of service, your integrity, and your heart. We're deeply grateful for all that you've contributed and look forward to many more milestones together. And let's give her, yes, let's clap. Elizabeth, being as humble as she is, was here, as council knows, up until a little bit ago, but trying to get her in here for this moment was a task that even strong mayor powers couldn't achieve. The next person that we want to acknowledge is Sarah Fitzpatrick, who started at the city on September 12th, 20 years ago. And so this evening we're also honoring and celebrating our friend and colleague Sarah Fitzpatrick for 20 remarkable years of service at the city, primarily in the Office of Mayor and Council. Sarah's calm and quiet demeanor, coupled with her passion for public service, has exemplified Sarah's commitment to serve. Her passion for detail and excellence, and most of all, her empathetic leadership style within our office, which has always served to uplift all who have had the opportunity to be served and supported by her. Sarah has been a steady and trusted presence in the Office of Mayor and Council. First, by supporting councillors for many years, and since then, supporting 2 successive mayors, former Mayor Carl Zaire, and over the last 11 years, myself. Sarah, on behalf of City Council, thank you for your years of service, your quiet and caring approach, and most of all, your heart. All of us, and I'll say especially myself, are deeply grateful for all that you've contributed, and we all look forward to many more work and life milestones together. Please join me in congratulating Sarah. Now, this next one will actually be celebrated on Friday of this week, October the 3rd. And it's a little difficult to try to sneak this one into the agenda because the individual being recognized is one of the people who sees the agenda before it gets finalized. This evening, we're also proud to celebrate the 20th anniversary of our fearless leader, Kitchener's Chief Administrative Officer, Dan Chapman. For over 2 decades, Dan has been a steady hand leading both in our finance and now at the helm of our organization, guiding our city through growth, transformation, and challenges with unwavering clarity, strategic foresight, and a memory that rivals our corporate archives. His strategic mindset and financial acumen have helped shape a resilient and forward-thinking municipality, ensuring that every dollar spent reflects our community's values and priorities. From budget innovation to long-term planning, Dan has consistently turned complexity into opportunity with a degree of calm and thoughtfulness that is second to none. We honor not just the years, but the impact, the policy shape, the teams empowered, and the legacy built. Dan, thank you for your dedication, wisdom, and leadership. And I'd now like to invite you forward as Council presents you with a certificate that reads, "The Council and citizens of the City of Kitchener extend congratulations to Dan Chapman, CAO, on the occasion of your 20th anniversary. Congratulations as you celebrate 2 decades of faithful service and unwavering commitment to our city alongside colleagues, family, and friends. With deep appreciation for over 20 years of dedicated leadership, unwavering commitment to public service, and exceptional contributions to Kitchener. Your vision, integrity, and collaborative spirit have shaped a stronger, more resilient Kitchener and have inspired others at the city and throughout the community. Thank you for your dedicated service to the City of Kitchener and its residents and businesses, and best wishes for many years of continued city building ahead." And I'd now like to invite Council up to join us in a picture with Dan.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Congrats, man.
I'll let you say a few words.
No, I'm not.
Tried to get Dan to agree to say a few words, but well, he'll answer any questions during the meeting. He passed on the opportunity this evening. Certainly will. Oh, he turned it on. We'll give him the moment anyway.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a surprise. I wasn't expecting this tonight. All I'll say is I'm deeply honored, and I valued every one of the days that make up the 20 years of service here at the City of Kitchener. So thank you for the recognition tonight. It means a lot.
Thank you very much, Dan. Okay, and now we'll go on to our other delegation. Thanks for your patience, Patrick. I'd like to invite Patrick Gilbride, REAP Green Solutions, to come forward to present REAP's Impact Report. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Mayor Verbenovich, councillors, and staff. I'm very pleased to be here with you to share our most recent impact report. This year marks a special milestone for us as well. This is our 25th year of these types of reports. 25 years represents an entire generation's worth of impact, which is all the more important because we know that the decisions that we make today will resonate for many generations to come. It's in that spirit that we're celebrating the myriad of accomplishments by the community over the last 25 years. And it's this legacy that we hope will carry us forward with the necessary momentum to catalyze everything from the energy transition to planting trees to flood-proofing entire neighborhoods. Jamie is a great example of someone looking to make that energy transition. By installing a hybrid heat pump system, he is migrating his family's energy consumption away from gas to electricity. But with the recent cancellation of the federal carbon tax, he chose wisely to offset his electrical bill by installing solar panels simultaneously. We're finding that heat pumps paired with solar are becoming a more and more common retrofit. Before I move on, I just want to recognize the contribution of Kitchener Utilities to help reduce the barrier to participating in an energy evaluation with REAP. They helped to subsidize that initial cost. So between 2023 and 2024, we did some analysis, and we found that heat pumps installed in Ontario home, over half of the heat pumps installed in Ontario homes were undersized. Many contractors don't have the information that they need in order to make an informed recommendation, which often leads to a one-size-fits-all scenario. With a little extra work, when we perform an energy evaluation, we can analyze a home's HVAC capacity and the electrical loads requirements to provide the precise specifications necessary to right-size a heat pump. The wildfires that we've experienced across Canada over the summer and really over the course of the whole year are a stark reminder of the need to adapt to extreme weather. Through our Healthy Yards programs, we work with homeowners to use nature as a way to make our neighborhoods more resilient to the risks of flooding. And with our Rain Smart Neighborhoods, which we deliver with the City of Kitchener, we take a targeted approach to focus this work in priority neighborhoods and subwatersheds. By enhancing the capacity of the existing stormwater infrastructure, these neighborhoods will be better able to manage flood risk and to improve water quality. We've continued to deliver our backyard tree planting program in 4 municipalities, but we recognize the importance that the many benefits that trees provide should be shared equitably throughout the community. We launched the pilot phase of the Community Canopy program in the Chandler Mowat neighborhood of Kitchener last year, and this pilot presented opportunities to work with residents to understand where they needed trees the most. REAP planted trees at low or no cost in people's yards, while the City of Kitchener planted trees in boulevards, parks, and other public spaces at the same time to really transform the neighborhood over the long haul. This pilot since expanded this year into several other lower canopy neighborhoods in Kitchener and has just started up in Cambridge as well. Our native tree nursery is now producing 10,000 saplings per year, all grown from locally collected seed and powered by over 40 volunteers who gave over 280 hours of their time to help grow and distribute these trees. And starting this fall, we're going to find a home for those trees in partnership with the region of Waterloo and the townships of Wilmot and Wellesley to plant those trees along rural roadsides, up to 9,000 over the next 3 years. We co-lead Climate Action WR with Sustainable Waterloo Region in partnership with all of our area municipalities. And most recently, we launched the With You We Can campaign. And that's really intended to provide an on-ramp for people so that they can connect with local resources to start their sustainability journey. And we had our first ever Climate Fest Waterloo Region yesterday, and it was nice to see some familiar faces around the horseshoe there. I'm sorry if I didn't get a chance to see you. There was a lot of people there. In terms of our financials, as expected, we saw a decline in our fee-for-service revenue from the decline in home energy evaluations. So we're very much in the bust part of a boom and bust cycle. Those retained earnings we've received in previous years have allowed us to invest in new programs like the heat pump right-sizing program that I mentioned. And finally, I'd like to say thank you. This is our most important slide. We couldn't do it without the partnerships that we have around the region, City of Kitchener being one of the most important in terms of that program delivery component, but also the logos that you see on the slide are all part of our core funders. So City of Kitchener and Kitchener Utilities are a long-standing partner in that respect, and that really helps us weather the storm of those boom and bust cycles. And I'd just like to close by saying a special thanks to staff. Congratulations, Dan. But also some of the other staff that we get a chance to work with on a day-to-day basis, specifically Michelle Campus, Anna Marie Cipriani, Sarah Anderson, Nick Golan, Joshua Shea, Heine Kovacs, and Rachel Voris, and the list goes on, but I'll stop there, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much, Patrick, for that presentation, and also, as you referenced, the work that yourself and Tova from Sustainable Waterloo Region and others did in organizing Waterloo Region Climate Fest. As you pointed out, it certainly was well attended with numerous community organizations and others participating in the event. We do have some questions for you, and I'll begin with Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Just saying, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Patrick, for coming in. I look forward to your presentation every year, and I'd like to start with a thank you to you and REAP that you do an amazing job in Ward 8 with the rain gardens and that around Lakeside Park and the different neighborhoods that you've really helped, the education that you provided to that neighborhood on how to cut down on salt and make rain gardens and things. And also, you were, well, your team members were at our recent garden celebration as well. So thanks for all of your work there. Did want to ask you a question with regards to where you'll be next in terms of what other neighborhoods are you looking at. I have suggestions for you to come in and do some more work in neighborhoods.
So we're doing, we have a GIS person on staff now, which is really exciting because we get to have fun with maps. And we've entered into some really good data sharing agreements, and we have layers around the tree canopy and worked with the City of Kitchener to identify where there's lower canopy, but also look at where there's flood risk. So there's those maps as well. And there is work going on. If you go to our website and you put in your postal code, you can figure out which those neighborhoods are, and those are the neighborhoods that we're prioritizing. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. I love that you're making database decisions, but still we can have a chat. So
yeah, and I would say that the neighborhood that you just talked about, it's really become a beacon that you know, it's drawn other people in, and we direct people to see how it can be a success, and that tour is a perfect example of it. Yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, and thank you for the great work that you and your team do.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. Councillor Chapman.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for coming in and presenting this. I just want to say I love the picture in the report. Was that you 25 years ago?
Of the, sorry?
Was that a picture of you 25 years ago?
Oh, on the impact report?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so I just want to say it's nice to see that there are new programs coming on board. And my question has to do with which program would you consider has the most impact in the region? And that impact could be whatever you think is most important.
Yeah, well, like I said, I think there's a lot of intersection between a lot of the programs, and it's great that we can really sort of make those data-informed decisions, because that's why I think that community canopy program is great, because it brings in that flood risk piece, it brings in that nature-based piece. It's also, you know, trees, everybody loves trees, so it's a great gateway to think about sustainability as well. So it's a way for us to engage with for a new audience as well. So, but you know, that's why we do so many different programs, is because we want to meet people where they're at and find an entry point for wherever people are at.
Right, okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. And that appears to be all the questions that we have. So thanks again for coming in this evening, Patrick. And please pass on our thanks to everyone at REAP for just being awesome partners with the city for many years now.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, we'll now move into delegations, and I just want to remind delegations of the following. The city values and encourages participation in dialogue in a democratic process that occurs in council and committee meetings and through written submissions and correspondence. It's important that these interactions remain respectful towards other members of the public, staff, and council. In cases where dialogue is not respectful or delegates interrupts or a delegate interrupts the mayor or councillor's staff or other delegations, makes derogatory statements about the mayor or councillor's staff or others that are disrespectful, or uses hate speech or language that is considered harmful or defamatory, the chair may interject and take necessary actions to maintain a respectful and inclusive environment for everyone, which could involve removal from a meeting. One last reminder, delegations are permitted to address council for a maximum of 5 minutes, which will be displayed on the screens in front of you. When there's 30 seconds remaining in your time, you will hear a small audio tone that will signal 30 seconds remaining. Please take that time to conclude your presentation, as there will be a second tone at the completion of your time, and the microphones will turn off automatically shortly after the exceeded 5-minute mark. Lastly, please do not take offense if following your presentation there are no questions from council. This is council's time to really listen and reflect upon the opinions and ideas being shared with us from our community members. And we'll now go into a notice of motion that has been made by Councillor Chapman, as we have 2 delegations for that. Councillor Chapman, if I can just ask you to read the motion, or in particular the operative phrases of your motion, please. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I think I'll read the whole thing. It's not that long. Whereas municipalities are entrusted under the Planning Act with the power and responsibility to enact official plans and zoning bylaws to serve the public interest, whereas the City of Kitchener has enacted official plans and zoning bylaws to the satisfaction of the province and/or the province's delegated authority, whereas the City of Kitchener was the recipient of the 2025 Congress of New Urbanism Award and the 2025 Canadian Award for Planning Excellence for its urban planning, whereas the City of Kitchener exceeded its provincial housing targets 2 years in a row, whereas the City of Kitchener exceeded its federal housing goals in 2024 and were deemed a top-performing city in Canada, and whereas the Province of Ontario's Bill 17, Protect Ontario by Building Faster and Smarter Act, weakens the capacity of a municipality to ensure a development application meets the public interest by A, preventing municipalities from enacting regulations to ensure communities are built to be energy efficient and withstand the effects of extreme weather, B, limiting the means by which a municipality may screen a development application, C, transferring municipal planning staff authorities to private development consultants, D, permitting the minister to reduce minimum setbacks by a singular percentage province-wide without regard for the particular zoning bylaws in effect or the particular public interests. Therefore, be it resolved that the City of Kitchener Council urge the Province of Ontario to review Bill 17 so as to enable and promote municipalities' capacity to ensure that development applications meet the public interest. And then that would be copied to various different bodies.
Okay, thank you. We'll now move on to our delegations. I also want to sorry, there are written submissions here from Lynn Intini and Peggy Nichols. And then we have 4 delegations. The first one is Mr. Hal Yeager. Is Mr. Yeager joining us virtually? No? Okay. Is Ms. Gal Schenk here, please? Welcome. Welcome, Ms. Schenk.
Good evening, Mayor Brandenburg and Kitchener City Councilors. I want to share my support for Councillor Chapman's forthcoming motion, which she just gave us, which enlightened me about recent achievements of the City of Kitchener, and also about the threat of the Province of Ontario's Bill 17 to weaken the ability of a municipality to respond adequately to development applications. Kitchener, as part of Waterloo Region, has distinguished itself through many urban planning accomplishments. And I recently became aware of 2 other sources which encourage the need for Kitchener to continue building its remarkable record. Briefly, the first source is the book, The Joy Experiments, Reimagining Mid-Sized Cities to Heal Our Divided Society, 2024, by Scott Higgins and Paul Kalflesh, who are local innovative community builders in hip development. By the way, I got the book from Kitchener Public Library, which itself is an outstanding local asset. I was enlightened by their book as they describe many local projects which required innovation, experimentation, and failure before achieving success. They specifically mentioned working with Tova Davidson of Sustainable Waterloo Region. Just go to their website, Creative Capital of Canada, www.creativecapitalofcanada.ca/ to be amazed about our region. The opening paragraph of the website reads, quote, "We're a group of people, companies, and organizations that want to publicly celebrate what led to Waterloo Region's success. Problem-solving creativity." End of quote. The book includes even more inspiring achievements in Kitchener and Waterloo Region, which time does not allow me to list. However, perhaps your appetite is whetted. Then I found a second source which encouraged the need for Kitchener to continue building its remarkable record. This source was a letter by the Canadian Environmental Law Association, or CELA, to the Honourable Minister Rob Flack, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing. I can provide the website for reference to this letter. In the letter, CELA cites legislation from the Provincial Planning Statement 2024, PPS, which states the need to, quote, "set clear goals for municipalities and all planning authorities to address climate change and other environmental harms." This CELA letter lists in detail many actions to do so, such as protecting ecological systems, conservation of natural resources, the conservation of energy and water, developing safe and healthy communities, ensuring the appropriate location of growth and development, and many other actions were cited. Recently, I was asked a riddle. If you forget on which side the sun rises, how do you check? Answer: just wait till it dawns on you. A simple riddle, perhaps. However, it did impress upon me the need to reflect. As I reflect on Councillor Chapman's motion, I believe it can enable the City of Kitchener to engage with the Ontario provincial government and, as CELA points out, quote, "The province should ensure that municipalities have the tools they need to meet these mandatory requirements of the Provincial Planning Statement 2024, end of quote. Thereby, by supporting Councillor Chapman's motion, I hope we can ensure that Kitchener continues to meet the public interest and to distinguish itself in urban planning achievements. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ms. Schenk. Apologies for the louder ding than normal. We'll try to adjust that. There don't appear to be any questions. Thank you for coming in this evening. Okay, we'll now move on to Kim Charlesworth. Mr. Yeager, I called for you earlier. I'll come back to you at the end. Thank you. Ms. Charlesworth, welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. I'm here to speak to you tonight as a concerned citizen of Kitchener. Councillor Chapman's motion states that Ontario's Bill 17 weakens the capacity of a municipality to ensure a development application meets the public interest, and I couldn't agree more. We elect our municipal officials to look after the public interest, period. There's a variety of ways that you do that. You, as a group of people, with staff, another group of people who are tasked and trained to support you in making good decisions, collectively take on responsibility for three things. Our shared public infrastructure services, like providing safe water, roads, sewers, policing. Our shared public cultural services that enrich our lives and help us to thrive as both individuals and a community, like recreation facilities, libraries, the arts, parks. And policy choices that are important for safety or helping us thrive, especially in the place that we inhabit, because the province or federal government is rightly responsible for larger, broader issues of safety. This is where I see the whole realm of issues and decisions around development landing. They are policy choices that are important for safety and helping us thrive, especially in the place that we inhabit. I think the provincial government probably believes it is furthering the public good by speeding up development approvals and dismantling processes and public protections that municipalities have rightly put in place over the years. They believe that because the only lens that they are using is the perspective of economic progress via development. And I think that the saying, throwing the baby out with the bathwater, applies here. The province is endangering the things that are most important to our communities by throwing out the protective processes that are currently in place. And we know our planning and development staff are doing a good job, or they wouldn't be winning the awards that they are. We need you, our local leaders, our local voices, to point out that our communities are perfectly equipped to manage development in our community's best interests. We do not benefit by allowing development that will not be energy efficient and withstand the effects of extreme weather. As Patrick has reminded us, we have declared a climate emergency that recognizes we will be experiencing more severe weather events like storms, extreme heat, and drought, and we need to move forward with that in mind. We do not benefit by allowing applications that are not closely screened by our local planning staff familiar with our community's plans, goals, and vision. We definitely do not benefit by using private development consultants instead of municipal staff who have the community's best interests from all perspectives in mind. And our communities do not benefit by having the province permitting reduced minimum setbacks province-wide without regard for our particular local neighborhood values. One obvious example that is critically important to everyone that calls Kitchener home is the fact that our drinking water relies very heavily on groundwater. The provisions in Bill 17 do not encourage moving forward, and the previously wise decisions that were made to limit development on or near our precious recharge area. As well, as mentioned earlier, they do not allow for wise, forward-looking decisions to promote or encourage the kind of development we need to see to be cost-effective in the face of climate change. So I ask you to support Councillor Chapman's motion so that we can continue to build the safe, neighborly, and prosperous city that we all want to live in. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Charlesworth. And there don't appear to be any questions. Thank you for coming in this evening. Our next delegation is Ms. Peggy Nichols. Welcome, Peggy.
Thank you. Respected Mayor and Council members, as you know, my name is Peggy Nichols, and I'm here yet again to speak to you on behalf of Kitchener Citizens for Livable Development. We encourage you to vote in support of the motion being submitted by Councillor Chapman, calling on the province to review and hopefully amend Bill 17. We believe that Bill 17, the Protect Ontario by Building Faster and Smarter Act, is yet one more piece of provincial legislation that undermines democratic process, erodes local decision-making, prevents building for climate change, and erases much of the effort that has been invested in planning for the kind of city we hope to develop. And for all of you who are sitting around the horseshoe tonight, you have been present for so many important decisions that have moved our city forward, and this bill is working against all of us. How does it do that? As noted again in Councillor Chapman's motion, and I know I'm repeating myself, but I think it's important just to continue making the point, this bill prevents municipalities from enacting regulations to ensure communities are built to be energy efficient and withstand the effects of extreme weather. It weakens the capacity of a municipality to ensure a development application meets the public interest by, first, limiting the means by which a municipality may screen a development application, transferring municipal planning staff authority to development consultants, basically allowing those consultants working for developers to approve their own submissions. And finally, permitting the minister to reduce minimum setbacks by a singular percentage, province-wide, without regard for the particular zoning bylaws in effect or the particular public interest. It also delivers authority to the Minister of Infrastructure to issue ministerial zoning orders which override all planning legislation, democratic and local decision-making, and safeguards against corruption. As Kitchener staff themselves noted in a report delivered to you at the Planning and Strategic Initiatives Committee meeting on September 8th, the City of Kitchener could face an up to $60 million shortfall over the next 2 years due to the way development charges are to be collected. Under Bill 17, the collection of development charges in residential builds are to be delayed until people are ready to move in. Previously, municipalities would collect development charges from developers upon the distribution of building permits, allowing the financial strain of initial development to be taken off the shoulder of taxpayers. Mayor Verbanovic recently pointed out during an interview with Josh Percy at City News that, quote, ultimately, municipalities need to be kept whole if we're going to be making the necessary investments in road, sewer, water, and recreational facilities in a timely manner. Before these changes, the City of Kitchener had planned to bring the Development Charge Reserve Fund into the positive by 2035. These changes now make those plans impossible, according to City staff. So I implore you to support Councillor Chapman's motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Nichols. And there don't appear to be any questions. Appreciate you coming in this evening. And we'll now go back to Mr. Hal Yeager, our last delegation. Welcome, Hal.
Good evening, respected council. My name is Hal Yeager, and I ask that you please support the implications of Bill 17 motion. I would like to highlight the actual text in the legislation and then share a plain English translation of my concerns. For Clause A, preventing municipalities from enacting regulations to ensure communities are built to be energy efficient and withstand the effects of extreme weather, the plain English meaning is that municipalities are unable to require their own standards beyond those in the Ontario Building Code. This will block implementation of green, high-performance development standards currently in development in the Waterloo region, which could ultimately increase energy costs for heating and cooling and increase impacts of extreme weather, and perhaps even include destruction of homes. For Clause B, limiting the means by which a municipality may screen a development application. The plain English meaning is that Kitchener will require permission from the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing before adopting any new requirements or amending any existing requirements. The Minister may determine the set of documents that we may or may not require to assess official plan, zoning bylaw, site plan control, and plan of subdivision amendment applications. This may prevent Kitchener from bringing in needed requirements or improvements to existing requirements. Creating a single set of requirements across the province may be harmful. as the type of information needed in Kitchener may not be the same as that needed in Toronto or in St. Agatha. For Clause C, transferring municipal planning staff authorities to private development consultants. The plain English meaning is that any submission by an authorized person satisfies the requirement of a complete application. The new policy may be interpreted to mean that any submission by an authorized person is deemed infallible. This may lead to unlawful outcomes that will at times be contrary to the public interest, because consultants engaged to deliver opinions to council may present applications that planning staff would have deemed incomplete, or present inaccurate information, or cite invalid authorities, or misinterpret policies and/or processes. Prior to Bill 17, Kitchener's planning staff, with subject matter expertise, reviewed submissions from consultants and presented recommendations to council. Under Bill 17, planning staff and council may have limited or no role in the review of the submissions to ensure that development applications serve the public interest. For Clause D, permitting the minister to reduce minimum setbacks by a singular percentage province-wide. The plain English meaning is that this regulation creates as-of-right variances based on a prescribed, yet-to-be-determined percentage change issued by the minister. This could result in one building so close to the property line that a neighboring building would not be allowed to have windows because the separating distance may not meet the required fire code separation. Or one building so close to the property line that users will be required to traverse a neighbor's property for access or maintenance. Or planning staff needing to artificially inflate setback limits in anticipation of possible provincial alterations. Or a package of zoning regulations that simply interacts differently than staff and council intended. Please support the implications of Bill 17 motion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yeager, for coming in, and there don't appear to be any questions. Thank you so much. Okay, we'll now move to the motion itself. I do just want to remind council that council has previously received both email and legal advice, both by email and in caucus, on the issue of Bill 17. So I just want to remind council of that, to reflect on that in relation to the motion before us. So with that, Councillor Chapman, it was your motion. Actually, I'll need a seconder first. Seconded by Councillor Deneau. Thank you. And I'll now give the floor to you, Councillor Chapman.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to say that I've consulted with staff and different community organizations to draft this motion. And because it's an omnibus bill that covers so many different topics, my motion really is simply just calling on the province to review the bill and to take into consideration the many concerns expressed both here and from other organizations and communities across the province. It's kind of a call to the province to remember that we are here and we're doing amazing work with developers and planners and doing what we think is right for Kitchener. So it's a pretty big bill. I think the delegates have done a good job of pointing out some of their concerns and what's in the bill that we can reflect on as well. So I hope you can support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Davey.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not sure who to direct the question at, Mr. Mayor. Maybe you might have some answers as well, but I'm wondering if there's been any existing advocacy motions on this from AMO, OBCM, et cetera, and how this aligns?
I can't recall on OBCM. My staff is reminding me no. On AMO, I'll maybe turn it to Mr. Chapman. Can you clarify that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, back in June, AMO did provide a submission to the province through the ERO on Bill 17. As you know, the bill was fast-tracked through the legislature, so there wasn't a formal opportunity to comment through that process. But they have supplied a submission now that includes their comments on key elements of the bill, including some of which have been discussed this evening. And their hope was to surface issues and priorities that they recommend be addressed prior to adoption of regulations under the bill. And so they cover a range of topics with recommendations for further review and consultation by the province.
Okay, I'll think of that. Thank you.
Councillor Singh.
Yeah, thank you very much. And thank you, Councillor Chapman, and of course the delegations. Bill 17 is a lot more encompassing, making considerable changes to, how we can speed up development and construction. So I can understand the delegates' fear and concerns, and of course, as you're advocating on their behalf as well. My focus really is trying to drive an understanding of what positive suggestions that we could provide the province, apart from just saying this bill perhaps is too much, too big, and reconsider or, reapproach. What other considerations could we add as advocacy that outlines the concern about affordability, which is actively there in our community, addresses issues regarding the speed with which development and construction can take place, because again, we need those houses built, which addresses the affordability, and at the same time to reduce the red tape, which will also help with the speed with which construction can take place, and providing more of a certainty to the development community when they're approaching a project. Those are something that the province is endeavoring to improve on. Again, I hear the delegates' concerns at seeing it differently. But again, those issues do lie in the marketplace, in that, I guess, the sensitivity and, the lack of ability for people to be appropriately housed. Can you address on some of those?
So you're looking for Councillor Chapman to respond? Okay, Councillor Chapman.
Motion.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question, but at this stage, I don't think I would be in a position to say what those things are we're calling in the province to do. I think there's, the AMO statement is here. We're not the only city that's brought a motion forward. Waterloo brought one forward earlier this year. And I think I wouldn't want to hone in on any specific recommendations at this point.
Okay, and the other part of the general allowances or flexibility on the setbacks, like a certain percentage that Bill 17 points out, reading up on some of the rationality that the province has taken that direction is towards timing and not necessitating committee adjustment applications that typically go in favor of the development application anyways, and that's where I think that threshold seems to have lied at that 10% reduction. Again, do you still have that concern, or do you see a challenge if we are encouraging the province to take a step back from that? We will have a continue, and I'll ask our staff on that clarity as well, that we will have that weight in timing as well as that uncertainty in the development community when it comes to small minor relief on the minor variances from the zoning bylaws.
Well, that's why I'm not pointing out any specific issue. I think it's clear that there are concerns, like I said, both here and beyond about what's being proposed here. So that's why I've left it as open as I could, hoping that the province will go back and look at, some of the things that have been mentioned here. So, yeah, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'll kind of ask some form of that question to staff later, if it's possible. Or do you want me to do that?
You have the floor, so go ahead.
Yeah, look to Ms. Bustamante. I'm going to focus on the setbacks, really, on the specific. The other ones, I think, more of the finance team, but regarding the DC's collection occupancy as opposed to on permit. What has been our experience in the minor variance applications and a lot of these development applications when they're seeking relief from the zoning bylaws? Do we in some cases see a bigger ask than the 10% that the province is approaching, or does it tend to be around close to the same proximity of the 10% reduction?
Through the mayor.
Bustamante?
Sorry. Through the mayor, I don't have those statistics for you tonight. I can share a recent example that you may be familiar with through our 4 units as of right work, where after that zoning regulation was put in place for approximately 18 months, staff did a review of the most common minor variance applications that we received to allow 4 units as of right, and we were able to make some adjustments to our zoning to dramatically reduce the number of variance applications that came forward to help facilitate that form of development. I would also say that staff are familiar with AMO's position on this issue, which is that percentage, being considered could be delegated to staff and be a decision that city staff could make rather than having to go to a separate entity such as Committee of Adjustment. And Kitchener staff would be supportive of that type of change.
Okay. In that regard, would the applicant still have any appeal framework?
Ms. Bustamante?
Through the mayor, I believe so, but I would have to look into the legalities around that.
Okay. The other part is when you've said that we've enacted some changes ourselves, recognizing that timing matters, as well as where we are seeing that typically an application is supported by staff anyways, that it just adds unnecessary time and takes up staff time as well as costs as well. So that's something that city's done on their own, not on specific on one item, but we have addressed our planning policies to alleviate some of those stress points.
Sorry.
Ms. Bustamante?
Through the mayor, yes, that's correct. And I would also add that council may be aware that we are working on our official plan project right now. And following the completion of the official plan, we will be updating our zoning bylaw again to make sure that it reflects the built form that we see out there and that we are looking to streamline approvals where possible.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any others in the queue. I guess I would ask maybe one question, Mr. Chapman, just in relation to your response to Councillor Davey about the AMO position. Would it be fair to say it sounds like the AMO position may be aligned with the operative, the first operative paragraph in the motion, namely urging the province to review Bill 17 to ensure that development applications meet the public interest. That seems, from the way you described it, that seems to align with AMO's position, whereas in particular the last whereas statement seems to certainly be taking some predetermined positions on a variety of issues. Mr. Chapman?
Through the chair, I think it's helpful to read a sentence from AMO's executive summary that responds to that question, where it identifies their intention behind their submission. So they're seeking to help surface issues and priorities that they recommend be addressed prior to the bill's full implementation, including through regulation. We trust that this additional commentary will support the government's implementation of its latest in a series of changes to the development system in Ontario. And so it sounds to me like their intention was to flag issues that are supported and also issues that are of concern and encourage the government to address those prior to full implementation.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Any other questions? Comments? Okay, Councillor Chapman.
Yeah, I'm just looking at a statement by AMO here. It says in our bill, in Bill 17 comments and its broader advocacy, AMO continues to call on the province for predictable, sustainable, and adequate funding for municipal infrastructure to support unprecedented growth, address aging assets, and increase climate resilience. So they are calling on the province to continue to work through this.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Deneau.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Chapman, for bringing this forward, and to the delegates tonight who spoke on it. You know, obviously, the biggest focus is on environmental issues and environmental concerns and building standards, you know, but there's a few other aspects to this bill that, you know, don't necessarily impact, you know, a large majority of our community. And that's of, you know, people with disabilities. And this bill, you know, will strip municipalities of our authority to create bylaws to make homes more accessible. And I would argue that in the province of Ontario, we don't have the best standards for accessibility with new builds or even a retrofitting. And so that's one issue that obviously is probably on the back burner for a lot of people. But secondly, you know, working in long-term care, and we know we need more long-term care beds. And 57% of our long-term care beds in the province of Ontario are for-profit homes. And so, you know, eliminating the DC charges on these builds, on these homes, just furthers the public top-up of some really, really rich people. But it also goes with, you know, these homes now have the ability to apply for funding to help with their new builds. And so, again, that comes out of the taxpayers' pockets. And so, you know, whether it's DCs for large developments or DCs for long-term care homes of the for-profit nature, you know, we end up paying for it in the end. And, you know, those are the few little extra things that, you know, are kind of hidden inside the bill that I think we need to be mindful of when voting on this tonight.
Okay, Councillor Davey.
Yeah, thank you. I'm still processing. I mean, in a perfect world, I think it would have been easier for me to support the general direction of AMO. So I'm just, as I'm talking through this, I'm just kind of struggling because there are some portions of Bill 17 that I think are needed, certainly needed, and others, like for example, but others that are asked for in the motion, I don't necessarily agree with. For example, I'm a big supporter of green development standards, but I also am not 100% convinced that it should be dealt with at the municipal level. I think this should be something, there shouldn't be green development standards in Cambridge, different green development standards in Kitchener, different green development standards in Wilmot, et cetera. I think it should be a province-wide approach so that the playing field is level for development, et cetera, and also to address climate change. And the other issue, the one that I'm most concerned about, looking at the finances from the City of Kitchener, isn't reflected in this motion either, and that is the deferral of development charges to occupancy, which is a principle that I'm 100% supportive of, but also think the province needs to address the funding gap in between. So I'm kind of on the fence on this. Like I said, if it was more of a straight alignment and endorsement of AMO's position, it's something I could support. But short of a deferral, I'm not sure how I'm going to move forward on this right now.
Thank you, Councillor Davey. Councillor Singh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it was kind of considering the same direction as what Councillor Davey has addressed his points. I do agree that we have to be cautious when we have overarching changes to our planning policy and how development happens, the speed with which it happens. It can be done wrong. This is development and construction that will look for the next 100 years, perhaps, and that can transform and change communities in not so fulsome ways. And that's why I think we do need to ensure that there are safeguards there that doesn't allow a runaway train. But again, equal to what Councillor Davey has said, but there are also some changes that, that we do need to kind of focus on, along with the timing, along with perhaps on the variances, right? That can allow the construction to happen faster. Coming back on my concern, same on the DCs. I mean, we're told to do something that's going to have a staggering impact on our financial stability of being able to build infrastructure towards the housing that the province wants us to build fast. So there's a gap in that. I think the province does need to provide more direction as to how we will fill those gaps, either through them or perhaps in a different varied way of changing the bylaws towards the DC Act. I think that's something that's been necessary for a long time, that can change the equation that works for the development community as well as it works for sustainability for the municipalities as well. And that's why I did frame my questions, Councillor Chapman, to you, not in any competition saying that the necessity of this motion is not needed. It was more of, okay, we're asking the province to look back. They've already decided, right? They've already felt like through their whatever consultation that they did, be limited to address the gaps and challenges in the development community. These are their best efforts forward. And if you feel they're not the right directions, then I think as an advocacy, just saying, hey, you're doing it wrong, go back and look at it. I think we can take a step further, building upon AMO's statement, like what Ms. Basmante had addressed, perhaps giving delegation authority to our staff as opposed to an application needed, so that it still provides the safeguards, but also expediency towards the development application as well. I think those are some of the suggestions I think we can fine tune, and I think that we could potentially look at deferring and adding on to this motion to give it more teeth and better direction that better outlines the concerns of our community in this city. So I'm not saying I'm not necessarily wanting to support it, but I'm thinking more is needed as well, and that's from the position that I'm coming from.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Chapman, before I come to you for a second time, I'll just maybe make a few comments as well, and I want to thank you for bringing this forward, and thank all of the delegations who came in this evening and who have shared views with us on this issue previously. I do think that, we're always stronger when our advocacy efforts are aligned as much as possible with our counterparts, particularly in terms of when I think of the work that AMO has done on this file. And when I look at the operative phrase in and of itself, it really doesn't raise any concerns for me. And the majority of the whereas statements also, are accurate reflections of the work that the City of Kitchener has been doing. I do think the last whereas statement starts getting very pointed about a number of issues, and even though that's not part of the operative phrase that ultimately goes to the province, I'm not sure that that's necessarily a full reflection of where we may want to be. Now, I'm obviously in the chair, and so I can't move anything, but I guess I would suggest a couple things. In lieu of a potential deferral motion that council may want to consider, we have a number of those operative phrases. Perhaps that last operative phrase can be removed. The last whereas phrase can be removed. And I think number one speaks to the AMO position, which is, urging the province to review Bill 17, both in terms of its positive and its negative points, to ensure that any applications meet public interest, and maybe adding a 1B there, or making it number 2 and then following with 2 becomes 3. Ensure that any review considers the financial impacts on municipalities and ensures municipalities remain whole in terms of any proposed planning changes, which I think speaks to what Councillor Chapman spoke about and what is part of the ongoing advocacy position of AMO, OBCM, and others. So I'll leave that if council wants to think about that, and if somebody feels that has merit, then I'll leave it with you to consider. So with that, Councillor Chapman, I'll go back to you for your second time.
Yeah, I was just, I mean, I'd be happy to make any amendments that anybody would like to suggest here. I like, but I don't have I didn't try to get the wording down as you were saying that, what would be point 1B or 2. I mean, I can draw it right out of the AMO statement that I read, or unless you want to send it to me and then can I add it to my own motion?
Somebody else would, because the motion has been moved and seconded, somebody else would need to make an amendment now.
Someone else can make the amendment.
Yeah.
I can, if somebody wants to do that, I can also, yeah, Councillor Davey, go ahead.
Yeah, just in the interest of moving forward on this, and I'm actually going to put the question to Councillor Chapman, and actually I guess to you, Mr. Mayor, is it possible, like we have a committee meeting, but there's also special council in a week's time, instead of trying to figure this out on the fly, I would ask Councillor Chapman if she'd consider just deferring this 1 week, maybe add some of the items like the financial implications as well, and ensuring it's in line with AMO, and then we can probably pass a more meaningful and aligned motion, I guess would be my question. And if she's fine with that, then I would move that deferral.
Okay, well, I'll let Councillor Chapman answer that. I guess the only point I would make is the House doesn't resume until October the 23rd anyway, so any bill would obviously not advance until that time. Go ahead, Councillor Chapman.
The only thing I'm seeing that's a tentative special council meeting in my phone.
Oh, no, well, yeah, I can call a special council meeting with the help of clerks. We are meeting, and we know we have a committee day that day, a shortened one, and we certainly can have a special council even if we don't have a caucus, if that's a direction from. Oh, we actually know that we will have a special council that day.
Okay, yeah, I'd be happy to defer it then, and to have well, hopefully somebody will come forward with an amendment at that time.
Okay, so you're moving that, okay, is there a seconder for that? Councillor Singh, thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you, everyone. So we'll be dealing with this again at special council on October the 6th. Okay. We'll now move on to reports of committees and planning and strategic initiatives. Councillor Singh.
Bear with me 1 second. Having some computer issues, so I have to go on my phone. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Items arising from the Planning and Strategic Initiatives Committee, as approved, I move them, seconded by Councillor Chapman.
Thank you, Councillor Singh. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Well, let's do that again. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Any unfinished business? Any new business? Mayoral business, I have none. Councillor Ioannidis, you have a motion that you provided notice of motion on. Go ahead, Councillor Ioannidis.
Thank you, Mayor Urbanovic. Whereas generations of Canadians have served our country and the world during times of war, military conflict, and peace, and whereas commemorative infrastructure such as decorative crosswalks can serve as meaningful public tributes to veterans and enhance civic awareness of their sacrifices, and whereas the City of Kitchener has received expressions of interest from community members and the Royal Canadian Legion regarding the installation of a veterans crosswalk and has reviewed examples from other municipalities, therefore be it resolved that the city staff be directed to work with the community partners to install a veterans-themed commemorative crosswalk in a suitable location within the City of Kitchener, with consideration given to design standards and material durability, consultation with the Royal Canadian Legion and local regimental associations, interpretive signage or commemorative plaques to accompany the crosswalk. Therefore, be it resolved, further resolved Therefore, be it further resolved that city staff be directed to work with the local Royal Canadian Legion, RCL, partners to finalize a location and local design for the RCL National Commemorative Crosswalk and work to install in time for Remembrance Day 2025 or as early as possible in 2026, weather dependent.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Ioannidis. Is there a seconder?
Yeah.
Seconded by Councillor Michaud. Thank you. Councillor Ioannidis, do you want to speak to it?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. It's my pleasure to bring forward this motion, and thanks to, for seconding it, Councillor Michaud. As you know, 2025 marks 80 years since the end of the Second World War. Globally, the two world wars saw tens of millions of people die around the world, and that doesn't include those who perished in many other conflicts that have occurred in recent decades. Between the two world wars, Canada has lost over 110,000 members between the Canadian Army, the Air Force, and the Navy, women and men who have served our country so we can enjoy the freedoms and democracy we enjoy today. As time goes on and fewer veterans remain alive, it becomes more and more important that we never forget the sacrifice made by these individuals, many from our own community, for each and every one of us. I'm bringing this motion forward today so that we can take a visible action to remember these men and women, and most importantly, help ensure future generations never forget, and that we all strive for a world of peace and without war in the future. This motion will ideally see a new crosswalk be installed this year, and if not, as soon as possible in 2026. So as a community, we can demonstrate that Kitchener truly will never forget.
Sorry, thank you very much, Councillor Ioannidis. Councillor Singh, you were next.
Yeah, I just want to thank and, just congratulate Councillor Ioannidis in having the foresight to recognize, tremendous sacrifice and suffering, handled by our veterans from the various wars that Canada has partaken in most of peacekeeping and standing up for what's right and just. And I think as a community, if we can celebrate that, and also, as you said, also not forget the tragedies of war, I think is a good and needed community improvement. Even more so, I think it's really well guided by you that we, as a community, grapple with speeding all the time. And what better place in a crosswalk? Two important things: crosswalk where our children, our youth, are taking the routes, so they are reminded on a daily basis, perhaps on their route to school, and impressed upon them on the righteousness that those fallen or those that have sacrificed their life, what that means. And the other is, whenever you see some type of art installation in a crosswalk, typically it slows people down. I know it does for me. So I think it's going to have a lot of benefits to the community. So thank you for bringing this forward.
Thank you. Councillor Michaud.
Yeah, I want to thank Councillor Ioannidis for this. This motion truly does warm my heart. My father was a World War II veteran, and I know that he's looking down smiling at us right now for doing this. And to Councillor Singh's comments with regards to the youth today, having something like that, it just reinforces the importance of keeping all the memories alive of those who fought for our freedom. So thank you very much for that.
Sorry, thank you, Councillor Michaud. Councillor Davey.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to actually ask staff if what the likelihood is they think it could be done. I know it's a very, very short time frame for this year, but if I could just ask the likelihood and I guess where the funding source would be, although I am supportive.
Ms. Bustamante, if you can take it, and if not, I've had some conversations together with Councillor Ioannidis with Barry. I want to say with Mr. Verbanovic, but that's me. The other Barry. Sorry, go ahead, Ms. Bustamante.
So yes, through the chair, I was going to say the same thing. I understand that there have been conversations with our Director of Transportation, Mr. Cronkite, and efforts will be made to work on it this year, but I think it's most realistic that it would be in place for next year in 2026.
Most likely, okay. Yeah, no, just my remaining time, I do want to thank Councillor Ioannidis as well. It's hard, like Councillor Michaud mentioned, not to think of our, well, in my case, my grandfather was in World War II and never spoke about it. We found that after actually he passed that he had won some medals in the Royal Canadian Air Force, and while we knew at the time he didn't speak of it, but his brother never came back and was shot down in, over Germany. And I just think it's an appropriate, it's a really appropriate thing to do, and I'm glad it was brought forward. I've heard other members of the community mention it, and kudos to Councillor Ioannidis for bringing it before us.
Thank you. Councillor Deneau.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Bill, for bringing this forward. And my hope is when it is installed, that it's a place of high traffic area, and really hit our youth and have meaningful discussions, hopefully with their parents, as it's become very, very loosely discussed in some of our elementary schools across the city. And so thank you for this. And I'm just curious if you have a location that you think, or a few locations that you might want to suggest or have thought of already.
I do have a few in consultation with staff and the mayor. We do have a location, but I honestly can see this in other areas too, and not just have one installation. So I think it's rather important. So yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'll echo the comments of my colleagues just to say thank you to Councillor Ioannidis. I think this is an incredible initiative, and I appreciate you bringing this forward. I, too, had my grandfather was in the Second World War, as was my step-grandmother. So I think it's important to recognize both men and women who also served for our country in various roles. So thanks a lot. This is very meaningful.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson, and I don't see anybody else in the queue. I'll just add my own thanks to Councillor Ioannidis for bringing this motion forward. I think it's poignant that we're dealing with it, less than 6 weeks away from the time when we will gather as a community at the Cenotaph to mark that 80th anniversary since the end of World War II. I think, as Councillor Ioannidis pointed out, we all know this. There aren't many veterans that remain alive who served our country in that Second World War. And it's becoming more important than ever that we never lose sight of the importance of ensuring that we see an end to conflict in our world and strive for peace, but also ensuring that we maintain the freedoms and democracy that were fought for back in those wars. So I'm pleased to see this before us, and there are obviously a couple locations that are most prevalent in terms of memorials. One is obviously the Cenotaph, which is a regional road, and the other one being the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium, and that's a city road. And so I think part of the intent in working with staff is to dialogue with our veterans organizations and the legions in particular to get their input into what would be the best location from their perspective. Okay, so it has been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Questions and answers. Moving on then. Madam Clerk, are there any items coming from the in-camera session today?
So through the chair, there is one resolution arising from in-camera earlier today, and it is displayed on your screen.
Okay, thank you. Is there a mover and a seconder for that motion? Moved by Councillor Johnson, seconded by Councillor Deneau. Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Sorry, all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Bylaws. Madam Clerk, are there any late starter bylaws?
So through the chair, there are 3 late starter bylaws, one for 157 Schweitzer, another for 434, 436 Queen Street, and the third item is an expropriation bylaw arising from the in-camera matter.
Okay, thank you. Can I ask someone to move the bylaws? Moved by Councillor Stretch, second by Councillor O'Dooney. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And that was moving all 3 readings of the bylaws and the late starters. So with that, we've very quickly come to the point of adjournment. Motion to adjourn, Councillor Chapman, Councillor Davey. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you very much, everyone.